In this video, we're going to try to answer the question, why did the Finns have so many of these variations of the mosin style rifle, okay? And why do you see them with an example like this, which this is a M91, a World War I style gun with the 1908 sights on there on a brand new barrel made in 1942. Okay, when the Finns had already kind of came up with people call probably the most advanced or refined version of the mosin nagant with this model M39 that was made in, this one is 1944. Why didn't they just replace all of their guns with this when they're still reworking a World War I rifle? Well, how the story goes, Finland was part of Russia. So it gained its independence at the end of World War I, and it became its own country, independent nation. So in looking around, what do we do to arm our troops with? And they wanted to pick a weapon system to arm their countrymen or military. So the fact that it was part of Russia and there were depots full of M91 rifles, they decided to just go with the M91 rifle. Now they didn't manufacture them. They had them already. So they took the stockpile that they had. Then in the 20s, they went around and purchased all of these M91 rifles from whoever, plus like the one with the Austrian capture markings. They were given these rifles as war reparations. And at the end of any war, just like modern day Ukraine, they're finding Thompson submachine guns and salt mines that have been there from the Lend-Lease Act, World War II. And there's also finding German weapons floating around that, again, were left over from World War II and stored somewhere forever for 80 years, okay? Governments have a tendency not to throw this old military equipment away. And at the end of a war, the stuff is left to where it is. The war's ended, people don't care, and at the end of World War I, there were, wherever the combat was and captured weapons were stockpiled, the Finns would go and buy them in any condition, just buy them, even if they were damaged, broken, the parts. So they accumulated this during the 20s, okay? And they started, they would refurbish. Now I have 3 of these that still have the original foreign-made barrels on them. So if the guns were in good condition, they just issued them as is, no matter what markings were on, as an M91, okay? And another issue is the old M91 with the torpedo bullet used, the 7.62 by 54R, used a 308 caliber bullet, the torpedo bullet. Later on they changed it and went with a larger diameter bullet. That's why all your M91 30s have like a 312 groove diameter, alright, to 314 some of them measured. I did a whole series on that. The barrels were made with a larger bore and groove diameter as compared to these. So this was another problem that the Finns had. They were having their guns manufactured, much like this M28. Now they're trying to improve on these guns, make a better gun, everything else. Now like this one still has the old style sight, but it has a new style front sight, okay? And as they figured out what features they wanted, they would incorporate them into the rifle. Now, they didn't have money. Money was a problem. So they didn't manufacture new guns. You can probably pull this receiver and find a date from World War I or something in there, and the magazine's the same. They didn't manufacture bolts or receivers, but it's cheaper if you got a stock, you got the bolt, receiver, the magazine, the trigger, they just make a barrel. Okay, making a new barrel costs less than making a whole new gun. All right. Now this is an M28, and this was for the Civil Guard, and this is a foreign-made barrel made by SIG. Okay, so they didn't have the time or the manufacturing to convert all the guns from, this 91 to like a 28 or 2830, and they're kind of hodgepodging. This is probably an original 91 stock that they modified and changed, and to make a new handguard, it's only a small strip of wood. It's easier to manufacture a new style handguard and the barrel bands than to cut a whole brand new stock. Okay, so they were putting together stuff and using the materials they had and modifying it to create something different. Okay. And then when we get to the M2830 and that's where they come up with a different sight system, the front sights, all this, and I think these stocks were newly manufactured because they have a semi-pistol grip other than the mosin style. So they started to manufacture these guns, but then again, M1938, what happened 39, 38, or no, M39, what happened in World War II started. Okay, so now you got a gun that you think is, been modernized and what we want to issue our people, but the war started at the same time, much like when the Italians were converting over to the 7.35. Right when they came up with a whole new program, the war started. They didn't have enough time to manufacture these M39 rifles, so that's why you'd end up with this M91 style gun with a brand new barrel on it. And then also the problem is they were using ammunition with the 30 caliber bullet, but they were also capturing a lot of the Russian ammunition with the larger diameter bullet, which their solution was take a little chamber reamer, clear out the front of the chamber, give it some room to allow that thicker bullet to engage into the barrel and rifling with less pressure buildup. And that's why even these older, they all had V's on them, except, and that's another thing, this 91, the 1942 barrel does not have a D on it. Okay, but the M39 and the M28 was later modified. Also, the M28, that was Civil Guard, shouldn't have an SA stamp on it. It has an SA stamp on it and a D, which meant it was modified. These older guns were modified to take the Russian larger diameter bullet, and the SA meant that this gun was reissued from the National Guard to the regular Army. Probably all happened in the 40s during the Winter War. Okay, so you'll see all kinds of variations and different things on there. But the reason why they were still rebarreling and issuing M91 style guns during World War II is just for the fact it was more economical and cost effective to keep these guns in service. Because truthfully, even though this is an M91, probably with a reworked stock and everything, the old sights, this is a brand new rifle. And probably all they had to do was replace the barrel and attach the sights onto it, from a gun that was shot out and not up to specifications. And this thing is on and shoots well. So that's kind of as brief as I can put it, explanation on how you get all these different variations, modifications, models, and that, and how they kind of cross over, you know, to where it can be difficult to figure out which one is which and that. Alright, hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned.